Hi, my name is Dean Sunseri. I have a doctorate in practical ministry and also a master's in theology from Notre Graduate School of Theology. And I absolutely love the Bible. And today we're going to talk about three common misunderstandings of the Bible. You know, the Bible is actually not one book. It's a compilation of many books, and there's so many misunderstandings. And if you're looking to be spiritually nourished by the Bible, it's important to avoid these three pitfalls or common misunderstandings. So we're going to get right into that today. And I thank you for joining us today. The first misunderstanding is the Bible is not a scientific book. Many times people look at the Bible from the perspective of through the eyes of science. You know, science is a recent phenomena of the last 300-400 years. Before that, we didn't look at the world strictly from a scientific point of view where we're trying to verify everything through our senses. The Bible was written so long ago, and that was never the agenda of the writers of the Bible. They were always looking to express spiritual truths through a variety of forms of writing. So if we look at the Bible through scientific eyes, and then we say, well, this doesn't have any truth because it doesn't scientifically line up. That was never the intention of any of the authors of the Bible. Look at this statement. The Bible is a series of books whose primary objective is to communicate not scientific truth, to communicate spiritual truth. And what are the forms? Through narratives, telling stories, through poetry, through letters, and through other genres. You know, if you read a beautiful poem and you said, this poem has no truth to it because it's not scientifically verifiable, that's so foolish, because the poet was never trying to relay a scientific thought or document. He was expressing his type of truths through the form of poetry. It's the same with the Bible. The Bible is a book that is expressing, and its primary objective is not expressing historical truth. It's not expressing scientific truth. It's not expressing the history of certain things, even though it's a byproduct of it. It's expressing spiritual truth and the communications of an infinite God to a finite human being. So when you approach the Bible, put aside any notion of, I'm trying to see if this is scientifically verifiable. That was never its agenda. So you're never going to be able to discern that, because that was not the objective of the authors. Let's get into the second misunderstanding of the Bible. The Bible is not one continuous book. You pick up a book and it has different chapters, any typical book, a novel or something like that. The Bible is not that. It's actually a compilation of many different books. It's not only a compilation of many different books. These books were written over hundreds or even thousands of years. And so look at this statement. The Bible is a compilation of many different books written by many different authors over a long period of time. Yeah, the time period of the Bible, you know, some suspect that 1,500 years before Christ lived, that there were some of the primary events like the Exodus and so forth, that the Bible was recorded way back then. It was written, many of the different books, some of them were written 200, 300, 400 years before the coming of Christ. So you have this huge time period of different authors writing different books. That's why if you're going to approach the Bible and want to be spiritually nourished, it's not necessarily the best approach is to start at the beginning and go to the end. Because the books are divided into different sections. There's the poetry section, there's the historical Pentateuch, there's the prophet section. Then when you get into the New Testament, you have the 4 versions of Jesus, his life, and then you have a variety of letters that were written at different times. In fact, the earliest written document of the New Testament was not the Gospels. It was probably Paul's letter, I believe, to the Thessalonians was the earliest recorded written down. So it's not necessarily in chronological order. So understand that when you read the Bible, you're basically going to a library and you're reading different books that just happen to be all in one book, a compilation of it. The third misunderstanding, which is important to understand as you want to be nourished and spiritually nourished by the Bible, is the Bible is not written by God. I hate to break the news to you. It absolutely is inspired by God, but it is not written by God. The Bible, in fact, is written by human beings who are inspired by God. Look at this. The Bible is inspired by God, but written by humans who are, just like you and I, limited in our unique understanding of the world. The spiritual truths may be truths that are eternal and infallible, that are being communicated through the Bible, but they're written by fallible human beings. So you always need to keep that in mind when you are reading and when you are meditating on the Bible. A mistake is to read the Bible and to think that, to interpret it in a way that this is eternally true, but it doesn't have any particular context. Everything written in Scripture is written in a time, in a historical context. Let me give you an example. Say that the New Orleans Saints play the Falcons. And in the Times-Picayune, they have a story the next day that the Saints crushed the Falcons. Now you see that, you say, wow, that's great. The Saints won. And you understand the context is football. They played, the Saints won, they beat the Falcons. That's the name of the teams. So let's fast forward 1,000, 1,500 years from now, and the person reading this headline has no context of what football is, has no understanding of the game of football, who's playing, the names, the teams, and so forth. And they pick up this headline and it says, the Saints crush the Falcons. And the man reads this and he interprets this as, well, the saints of God must have had this apocalyptic battle with falcons or birds, and the birds attacked the saints, but the saints rose up and they crushed them and they were in victory. And they have this whole convoluted interpretation that has nothing to do with the original context. That's why it's so important as you try to understand the spiritual context of what you're reading in the Bible is to have some notion or some understanding of the historical background of the times so that you can get the right context so that you can apply it to the context today. Look, my heart is for you to be nourished by this unbelievable book that we call the Bible. It's been more read by than any other book in the history of the world. And it's worthy of deep reading, study, meditation, application to your life because it has the prescription of being connected to God and also how to live a life-giving life. And so avoid those 3 misunderstandings as you approach and fulfill your spiritual hunger. Also want to invite you, we have another video here available called How to Read the Bible. If you're a beginner and you're just trying to know how to approach reading the Bible and letting it spiritually nourish you and come alive, I want you to tap on this video now and look at this video. It's how to read the Bible, and I give you 3 tips that are going to help you so much. I'm Dean with Transform Our World, New Orleans, and I wish you God's blessing.